All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to RickCast. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of September, 2025. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday. My days are all messed up because, I got home on Labor Day and all this other kind of weird stuff and time zones and so forth. But I am here and I am glad that you are here, either watching live or in the replay. Got a good show tonight. I am excited. We'll see how long it goes. Still feeling a little weird, under the weather. Can't get around it. Jet lag, whatever you want to call it. But that doesn't matter. I'm here to do the show with you guys. I'm just saying, and you can make fun of me because I always do this. I said if the show if I tap out a little earlier than usual, it's not because I don't want to hang out with you guys. It's because I'm just battling some stuff, like health wise, and nothing nasty, just weird things. Anyway, we're doing good. We're gonna have a good show. The Epstein thing just keeps getting weirder and weirder, right? Trump said it's a hoax, and now we had a press conference today with all the victims. Okay. So that's weird, right? That's a little strange, but it's happening. Oh, hold on. There it is. Yeah, Texas heat illness. Could be. But I don't know, Brian. It's um no, and I don't want to here's the thing, I don't want to talk too much about it cuz it sounds like I'm, playing a victim. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying like, "Hey, I'm done for the night, guys. I'm going to wrap it up." That's why, not because I don't like hanging out with you. G Money, you are a man, you are a hard worker. So, good for you, bud. Coming on hang out with us. So, the Epstein victims who apparently exist, despite the fact that Pam Law and Bunny Bondi and Cash Money Patel, or we should call him Fake Cash Patel, Counterfeit Cash Patel, and Donald Trump and everybody else are spinning or are chasing their own tails and um that way. And thank you, Brian. It's so I mean, even if it's just three Aves just for Ave's sake, I can always use them. I always use prayers. So that's the thing about working from home. Um, I don't talk to anybody all day. So when I start talking, it's like, I don't get that out of my system. But we're gonna get to it. Second thing, this story has been banting around, knocking around on the social medias about Pope Leo XIV meeting with Jimmy Martin. I'm sorry, Father Martin, and what's going on with that? Because he just met with Cardinal Burke, and people are getting mixed messages and all these other kinds of things. So I'm going to toss that out, and we'll see how we get from there going forward. I'm just the prince from Spaceballs, right? If you know your Spaceballs lore, what was he, Prince something? All he did was yawn all day. I thought it was Prince Valiant, which I didn't get when I was younger, but then you're like, oh, Valiant, like the drug. That's hysterical. So it's Valium. It's Valium cast right now. But we'll talk about that. And then finally, Tim Walz is demanding more gun control, despite the fact that Minnesota. Minnesota. Let me see. Minnesota gun control scorecard. There it is. Has it as from Giffords, has a pretty impressive score. It has a B. So, and I'll show you this later. But they want more gun control. He wants to go all Australia. He wants a gun buyback program. Yeah, he does. And gun buybacks don't do anything. Minnesota doesn't have anything in its constitution. So there's two schools of thought if the right to keep and bear arms is not included in your state constitution. The one is that that it gives the government the right to do whatever it wants. The second school of thought is that it doesn't allow the government to touch it because it's not enumerated. Of course, the government being an all-controlling bunch of jerks, um, they interpret the first one. Well, it's not there, so we can do whatever we want, instead of the more appropriate constitutional conservative viewpoint of, well, if it's not in there, then you have no right to it. It should be a county by county thing. But that's how that goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, like, subscribe, share. Yeah, right. They always call it a buyback, yet they didn't sell it to me. You know, you can't buy back something you don't own, or you never sold or owned. And B, gun buybacks don't work. They just don't. You end up getting like a bunch of 1022s and a bunch of old World War II like M4s, which would be awesome, but they're usually rusty and they don't work. But anyway, to keep with time and to give you guys the best show possible, so I can ensure that I get a good showing for you, we're gonna move on. So do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell to help the show grow. And we are going to move on to our first story of the day, but I am going to say, hey, subscribe. This segment of the program, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by, first of all, put my beautiful face there. I have to now do this because I'm stupid and I didn't think about this before. There it is. Nope, we don't want video. I already have all the videos up. Screen, go. This segment of the program is brought to you by, ladies and gentlemen, the amazing people over at tradflags.com. Tradflags.com, where you can get monthly flags dedicated to a specific devotion each month. This month, the month of September, is devoted to the 7 Sorrows of Mary. Please check it out. The month of September is dedicated to the 7 Sorrows of Mary. You can get this beautiful 3x5 double-sided flag at tradflags.com. If you like this flag and you would like to buy it, do me a favor, use the promo code RickCast, which you see down below. That will help the show. You get 10% off your order at tradflag.com. Maybe make a little bit, save a little bit more money. Bundle September, October. Bundle the fall flags together. Get bigger percentage off, and that'll help at tradflags.com. And we will be set throughout the rest of the year. You have September, you have October, you have November, and December. And it will be great for you. And you'll be supporting the fantastic men over at tradflags.com. Tradflags.com. Promo code RickCast to get 10% off your order. And big thank you to the great men and women over at tradflags.com, giving people an option to share and evangelize their faith without speaking. All right, let's get to a story that is developing right now. UMass Lowell campus, another state. If you want to take a look at this is the scorecard from Gifford. I don't know, Gryffindor. Like, no, it's not Harry Potter. From Gifford, Massachusetts, with an A+ rating. You can't read it because this thing is stupid. So I will go full screen. Massachusetts is an A ranking from Giffords. 5 out of 50. It's number 5 out of 50. Banned ghost guns, prohibited guns at polling places, strengthen existing extreme protection, blah, 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 blah. Oh, look, they have an active shooter. Look at that. They managed to have an active shooter despite the fact that they're number 5 out of 50. Minnesota has a B. They have an active shooter. There was another recent one. Now we have this one in Massachusetts, despite the fact that Massachusetts has an A rating from Giffords and is 5 out of 50. So, Lowell and state police acknowledge they are investigating what's happened in a video circulating online appearing to show someone with a weapon walking near the Riverview Suite resident hall. A housing lockdown on the campus of UMass Lowell is over Wednesday afternoon after a person was reported with what they expected to be a gun. The message sent to the campus community said law enforcement believes the person left the area, although the fact that they have a firearm in the middle of Massachusetts is a little strange, considering they're not supposed to have them. Lockdown and shelter-in-place orders have been lifted for all UMass. Villanova. That was the other one. Yep. Campuses based on search and investigation. Law enforcement partners believe the suspect is no longer there. Do we have a picture of the person? Nope, we just have a bunch of military guys. Great. It's a fuzzy picture. I watched the video. There's nothing conclusive. It's from afar, much like the Zapruder film, despite the fact that we have all this technology and we have all these pixels, and we have all this definition. We still, every video of a shooter looks like the Zapruder film still. But we have had the shooting in Georgia at the Emory campus, which was targeted at the CDC. We've had the false flag at Villanova, and now we have this flag, whether it's a false flag or not, in Massachusetts, in addition to the tragedy at the Annunciation School in Minnesota. There's only one solution here, folks, and it's not red flag laws. There's only one solution here, folks, and it's not more gun control. There's only one solution here, folks, and that is the ending. There's actually two. The ending, ding, 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 the ending of gun-free zones. Gun-free zones have not worked. They have never worked. They will never work, and we are constantly seeing with this nonsense, people who are in gun-free zones are the sittingest of ducks. Quackity quack quack, because they might as well just have walk around campus with a target on your back. If you are in a gun-free zone, same for a bank, same for whatever you want to call it, at a sporting event or whatever. You are in danger if you are in a gun-free zone. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. Gun-free zones need to go away. They need to not exist. And that's everywhere. Elementary schools, high schools, colleges, anything that's a gun-free zone needs to go away. There's I'm going to subset that with a point of here in Texas, there are certain places that are gun-free. I'm going to get this dude off the map. I don't care. There's like courthouses and stuff like that. You're not allowed to carry a firearm in the state of Texas. I think that should be repealed. I think if you have a license to carry in the state of Texas, you should be allowed to carry everywhere. That's state property. I don't think there should be anywhere you are forbidden to carry a firearm if you've taken the time to go get a license to carry. Because you're fingerprinted, you're background checked, you pass a proficiency test, you pass a written test. The state grants you, and I know that's tricky language here, grants you the right to carry or gives you legal protection, whatever you want to say, then you should be able to carry everywhere. Courthouses, it doesn't matter. School zones, if you have a license to carry, you should be able to. I'll even make the concession that it has to be concealed. Can't open carry in these places, but you should be allowed to conceal carry in these places. That includes churches. My most extreme take that I have today is that in the state of Texas, if you have a license to carry, the bishop should not be allowed to ban you from carrying in a mass. I don't think that should be the case anymore. Not because I don't love and respect the bishops, the Bishop of Austin, which we just got a new one, His Excellency. I don't have a personal vendetta against them, or I don't like them. I'm not one of these people like, they're all terrible. I'm not like that. But I think that you should be allowed, they should not have the ability to ban you. Now, if it's permitless, fine. You can't have it. I'm good with that. Some people may say I'm anti-two-way for any of that kind of thing. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I believe that if you've gone through the process to get a license to carry, then you should not be barred. That's something you can voluntarily do. You don't have to get the permit. You can still carry. We're a permitless carry state. If you'd like to carry without a permit, that's fine. But if you have a license to carry in the state, you should not be barred from anywhere state regulated. There's nothing I can do about federal right now, but that is what it is. So, Peter, are you making the argument about bishops? As long as they're accepting 501c3 status, then I don't think they should be allowed to bar people from the state. Right? Catholic Church is a 501c3, I believe. If they have a 501c3, they shouldn't be allowed to ban people with license to carry holders from going onto the actual property. That's my argument. You may think it's weak sauce, but that's what I have. Gun-free zones need to go away. They absolutely need to go away. Now, notice you're mentioning private property. We're not talking about private property outside of most likely the Catholic Church. But my argument is if they're accepting 501c3 status, then the ability to discriminate and these kinds of things has kind of been relaxed in a way. I'm still formulating this hypothesis, so it's very new. But that's what I believe. But this idea of gun-free zones across the country, like schools and all that stuff, it just needs to go. It's not working. It's not working in any way, shape, or form. It's just not working that way. I think we're seeing it time after time after time after time after time. It just doesn't work. So we need to get rid of them. I'm glad Thomas Massie has introduced something to get rid of gun-free zones, at least at schools. And I think that's a necessary step. Oh, and then the last one before I get, because I'm kind of going all over the place. I'm a little more brain damaged than usual today. You got to let 18-year-olds carry handguns. There's this stupid federal law. What is it? Under 21 from pose. What is it? What's the actual law? What's the actual law here? Yeah, what's the fine? Don't tell me. But you have people between 18 to 21 years of age. You're not allowed to carry a firearm. I don't think that's. I think that needs to be repealed. I think if you're an adult, if you can go to war, you can be charged with a crime, you can pay taxes, you can be able to carry a handgun. I think this graduated licensing they have, this idea of you can have a long gun at 21, at 18, but not 21, and all these other kinds of stuff is a stupid thing. I think more 18-year-olds should carry firearms, and I think they should have LTCs. And I think they should be allowed to purchase them and carry them on campuses. They should have the right to defend themselves. And then that is the three ways that I think that should be the case. Yes, like I said, this is a very new hypothesis. You can only carry if you're in Iraq. That's correct, Peter. That's correct. I see here. And to your thing about the IRS code and all these other kinds of things, I came up with this hypothesis yesterday. So I'm still working out my arguments. So it may not make a lot of sense right now. And I grant you that. Everything you've said, Peter, is correct. But I'm working through it. So eventually I'll have a very strong argument. I probably shouldn't have debuted it tonight, but I felt like it. So it is what it is. In that regard. Yeah. Your son's a police officer, can't even buy beer. Yeah, that's kind of crazy how that goes. You know, we as soon as we have kids turn 18, they can vote, they can get married, they can go to war, they pay taxes, they have to file their own taxes, they can sign for ridiculous loans for colleges that put them in debt for forever, but they can't buy a beer. They can't buy a handgun to protect themselves. My biggest argument for 18-year-olds is for women on college campuses, or just women in general. A lot of women 18 to 21, a lot of them have waitress jobs, right? They to pay bills and things like that. Yes, there may be other types of jobs that they work at night. I get it. You can throw those in as well. But I believe women who have waitress jobs, women who are working late night shifts, they should be able, just because they're not 21, they should be able to carry a firearm. They should be able to protect themselves. And that goes to college campuses, work environments, whatever the case may be. So I think the 21 plus rule for handguns is actually anti-women. I think it's actually very anti-women, and it needs to be repealed. immediately. So those are my 3 solutions. Thank you, Peter. I am going to need help firming it up. But once I get some firm arguments against it, I think it'll be a pretty solid argument in that regard. But we're seeing more of these incidences, and they're not taking place, guys. These incidences are not taking place where people can shoot back, where somebody can potentially lose their life if they mess around. And I think there's a reason for that. So we need to end gun-free. We can all agree we can at least end gun-free zones. They need to go away. They don't keep anybody safe. They only make Karen, the soccer mom, feel safe when she sees that little sign, little Timmy's going to be safe today because the sign is going to make sure nobody goes in there, even though we know it doesn't do anything except have law-abiding citizens go, oh, wait, well, I guess I can't bring my gun in here unless you are in the spirit of Gandhi and civil disobedience. I don't know if Gandhi is a civil disobedience guy or whatever, but you get my point. Anyway, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you like what we're doing. We're going to move on to our first story. And that's my thing with, like, when Democrats want to lower the voting age or whatever, let's lower it to 16. I'm like, oh, no. Everything's going to have to be at 18 or everything's going to have to be at 21. This mixy-matchy nonsense has got to go away. It's got to go away. Either you're an adult at 21 or you're an adult at 18. And we did it when kids were 18 and they could drink and things got bad. What do you want? What do you want me to do? You gotta make it firm. I would actually make the argument that I think adult privileges should start at 21. Right? If we're going to make the voting age 21, then everything adulting is 21. Now, you can get a waiver if you really want to serve your country at 18, right? You can get a waiver from your parents and stuff like that and go in. But I think everything should be 21. That's another obsessively weird take now. I don't like the 18 is some stuff and 21 is some other stuff. 21 for everything. 21 for everything. Okay? If you can't drink, and, if drinking is your big thing, sorry, then everything gets dragged up with it. We can't make everything else is 21. Now, of course, I'm kind of retarded because I'm saying 18-year-olds should have handguns. What can I say? I'm not thinking in my right mind tonight. So I guess the appropriate response is, have you ever seen a hypocrite before? I need to get more intellectually solid on all my talking points. I'll put a list together after the show. All right, folks, let's get to our first story of the night. Let me see. How did I do this? Oh, I got to shrink the screen down. Hold on. I forgot all this stuff when I was away. Nope, didn't want to do that, but cool. Thanks. You are not helping me tonight, computer. You stink. You are stinky. There we go. Come on. Get there. There it is. Look at that. Make it 26. I don't care. You know what? I don't care what the number is. I just want everybody to agree on it. It's fine. All right. First story up, ladies and gentlemen. GOP and Democratic congressmen hold a presser with the Epstein victims to demand the files release. Remember, these files that your president, Donald Trump, has said are a hoax, has said do not exist, have said if you believe in them, he does not want your support anymore. Well, looks like it isn't just a hoax. We actually have victims. And we have Thomas Massie and Ro Khan, R.O. Khan. When Ro Khan is a Democrat, Thomas Massie is obviously a Republican, joining forces to hold this press conference. Video.
A nation that allows rich and powerful men to traffic and abuse young girls without consequence is a nation that has lost its moral and spiritual core. Americans are asking a very simple question. How is it possible that in the richest, most powerful country in the world, there are corrupt special interest forces, both foreign or domestic, that have a stranglehold on our government and are preventing the release of the full Epstein files.
What about Thomas Massie? Go.
I hope my colleagues are watching this press conference. I want them to think, what if this was your sister? What if this was your daughter? When these survivors speak, the Washington establishment is asking the American public to believe something that is not believable. They're asking you to believe that two individuals created hundreds of victims and they acted alone, and that the DOJ has no idea of who else might have been involved, that nobody else did anything that rose to a criminal enterprise. The American people know that's not true. Now, the Speaker of the House just offered a fig leaf to my colleagues. They're going to vote on a non-binding resolution today that does absolutely nothing. I appreciate the efforts of my colleague James Comer, who's leading the Oversight Committee. They may find some information, but they're allowing the DOJ to curate all of the information that the DOJ is giving them. If you've looked at the pages they've released so far, they're heavily redacted. Some pages are entirely redacted. And 97% of this is already in the public domain. So I'm calling on my colleagues. Be one of the next two who sponsors this discharge petition. I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real.
So Trump and his team have not reacted well to this. Why? Let me show you this. Thomas Massie put this out earlier. White House says helping him secure the release is a hostile act. A White House official told the NBC News in an email, helping Thomas Massie and liberal Democrats with their attention seeking while the DOJ is fully supporting a more comprehensive file release would be viewed as a hostile act towards the administration. So if you have your own mindset, if you think for yourself, then you are hostile towards the Donald, which is ridiculous, which is absolutely ridiculous. But, somebody said, hey, MDG's in the background. You're right, Brian. Here she is.
All of the fault belongs to the evil people that do these things to the innocent. This is the most important fight we can wage here in Congress, is fighting for innocent people that never receive justice. And the women behind me have never received justice. And do you want to know why? It's because Jeffrey Epstein somehow was able to walk among the most rich, powerful people, not only in America, but foreign countries. Yesterday, I heard countries like Saudi Arabia, Russia, and even Israel, and other countries. The truth needs to come out, and the government holds the truth. The cases that are sealed hold the truth. Jeffrey Epstein's estate holds the truth. The FBI, the DOJ, and the CIA holds the truth.
Which means
and
you
the
ain't getting
truth
none of it.
We are demanding come out on behalf of these women, but also as a strong message to every innocent child, teenager, woman, and man that is being held captive in abuse. This should never happen in America, and it should never be a political issue that divides us.
The problem is, you have the issue that America runs on. This show is about to get suppressed like you wouldn't believe, but who cares? The federal government runs on the souls of little kids. The rich and the powerful, they run on it, man. And the number of people, the theories that have been speculated since the start of Trump's administration. Oh my gosh, could you believe? What if there are people from the Middle East on here and they have a different worldview? Young kids are fine to them. What about the global markets? What about the global markets that'll be impacted if this CEO has to step down, or this professor, or this? What about the trust that'll be shaken in the system if we let these names out? Well, guess what? There is no trust in the system. Trump was elected because they floated the possibility of maybe kind of releasing the Epstein files. That's why one of the things, and I know Trump doesn't want to acknowledge that anymore because he's into his second term and he doesn't care about anything except getting what he wants to get done and serving most favored nation status. But the idea is that people want some kind of retribution. They want some kind of result. And this is just not going to work for them. Of course, then you have this survivor here speaking out as well.
I would like to announce here today, us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know who were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details.
I mean, that's great. Congratulations. I'm happy that you're speaking out, that your bravery. And that's not me being facetious. I know I sound like it, but yeah, to speak out against this list, I hope you're carrying. I hope you're carrying a minigun in your car at all times. Because the establishment does not want this to continue. They want this story to go away. Pam Bondi stumbled over her own facial makeup when she said, "Breaking news, you're going to have some Epstein stuff on Monday." And it has just been a downhill trajectory for this administration ever since. Now you've got the victim saying, "Yeah, we'll just release the list on our own." I'll tell you, I have respect for you. And I hope you all live and have, I hope you all exercise your God-given right to defend yourself. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to just put it up on the screen and y'all can read for yourself Peter's comment there, because I don't know what to tell you. That's pretty true. That seems like it. Yeah, right. She should have ended that press conference saying, "I feel 100% healthy and I love life." But good for them. Good for them saying these things. And yeah. So good. I'm with you guys in the chat. This is why, whatever MTG, whatever you think about her, at least she has a little bit of an independent streak. She doesn't go with the hive mind. Massey obviously is Massey. He's always going to do what he thinks is right for his constituents. He doesn't really care what the rest of them think, which is nice. But I don't know if anything's going to come for this. And I really hope those victims are okay and, they get some kind of justice and release. I also, if you're them and you're being promised by people on the Republican side, we're going to release the list, we're going to get you justice. And now you got Trump being like, it's all fake. It's all fake. It doesn't exist. It's Democrats, blah, blah, blah. They're going to be like, no, it's not fake. So they're probably not only the health concern, a lot of these survivors might start getting visits from like the IRS. Hey, did you do your taxes last year? We got to audit you again. Sorry. Stuff like that tends to happen. So good luck to them. But also, that's a heck of an announcement. I hope everything goes well for him. This is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Let's get to our second story of the night. This one has been going around for a couple, which is weird. Well, no, not weird, because it was dropped today. So we've been talking about it. Well, not me. I'm talking about it now. But X, especially Catholic X, has been talking about this meeting between Father James Martin and Pope Leo XIV. Now, Ricardo Casoli. Sorry, I'm stupid. So, the private audience gave the American Jesuit promoter of the LGBT MAP agenda within the church the opportunity to suggest that Leo XIV will adopt the same stance as his predecessor, Pope Francis. This is an attempt to block the Pope on these issues. Now, just this picture alone has set off some in trad media. they have absolutely lost their mind, saying, oh, we knew it. We knew it. It's happening. The Ron Paul meme, it's happening. And you've had some that are like, no, it's not that big of a deal. Let me just get this in there. I actually have to applaud Anthony from Avoiding Babylon. I actually think this is probably the most solid take out of anybody when you look at the hyperventilation on one side and the serious cope on the other. Because this is one of the things that Pope Francis, who am I to judge, and the blessing of the couples and all these other kinds of nonsense, that the trads were like, we don't want to do this again. And so Anthony writes, this is like Nova Sordo fan fiction. Leo will not do anything. He won't choose Martin's God or Burke's God, because he's also talking about the fact that Pope Leo met with Cardinal Burke. He'll go on as if neither meeting was important because they weren't. And this is what I'm saying, which I actually think Anthony's statement here is correct. All these meetings that the Pope is having right now with different factions and different groups is nothing more than when a new administration or a new boss comes into a company and they have their staff. In this case, it's just Pope Leo meeting with different groups. And they do essentially introduction videos or introduction meetings with each other. Right? Yeah, you knew me before, but now I'm in this position, and you're this and this and that, and how these things are going to work. But everybody is taking this and implying their own worst case scenario, if you will. But let's get to the article. Yeah, Leo does have his same expression in both pics. That's a great point. He really does. So on September 1st, Father James Martin received an audience by Pope Leo XIV and reportedly received full approval of his ministry. Now, who said this? Father James Martin said this. He ran out of the meeting, probably sauntered out of the meeting, saying, I'm extremely grateful and deeply comforted by my meeting with the Holy Father. He encouraged me to continue my ministry. Quote, Pope Leo has the same openness as Pope Francis to the LGBT MAP issue. He made it clear that he wants everyone to feel welcome. Now, I actually think Pope Leo said that. Yeah, I like we want everyone to feel welcome. Now, the mishmashing of, well, he wants everybody to feel welcome. Obviously, he wants me to continue what I'm doing. Because we haven't heard from Pope Leo. All we're hearing now is from Martin. And there's going to be something in this article that talks about it. Now, of course, everybody's freaking out about the LGBT Jubilee pilgrimage, which has not been officially endorsed by the Vatican, even though it's on the calendar. Here's the thing about the Jubilee event. That was put on by Francis. Francis approved it. That whole cabal that Francis had approved it. You're not going to see Pope Leo rip it from the calendar. As much as we'd all, be like, yeah, do it. I don't think you're going to see Pope Leo cancel that event or rip something like that from the calendar. He's just going to let it play out. So he continued to talk, said the meeting was 30 minutes, a very joyful and relaxed atmosphere, and offered additional reflections. However, the central message is clear. He's saying the message I received from him, the Pope, was that he wants me to continue the same approach as Pope Francis, which is openness and welcome. But then he goes on, despite his initial triumphant tone, that the reservation and that reserved for the international press. He explained to his followers that the Pope has other priorities, such as the peace process in Ukraine, Gaza, Myanmar. There's no need to worry if he does not intervene much on these issues. He's well aware of them. Well, which this article says is perhaps a preemptive excuse. Because the Pope is not meeting with the LGBT group at the Jubilee. See, everybody's like, oh, Father Martin said he's open to it, and this is crazy. But there's also different layers. Like a parfait, there are different layers here. The Pope is not taking time out of his schedule to meet and give an audience to the Jubilee. He didn't, he's not really prioritizing the way Francis prioritized the idea of same-sex marriage and all these other kinds of things. The fact is that this clarification differs from his predecessor's approach. And this is the most important paragraph. This is the most important paragraph. That's very true, James. Look at the Pope's appointments. They do set the tone. We do not know what was said in this meeting. We know what James Martin is trying to get out there. We know what he is trying to establish in the U.S. media. Nor whether the latter correctly summarized the Pope's message. However, it's important to note that the widows of Bergoglio are trying to guard this certificate by perpetuating the bad habit of telling the world what the Pope allegedly said in private conversations. Now, since Pope Leo's election, even before, certain circles have been clearly concerned to maintain the position achieved during Francis' pontificate. Consequently, statements and interviews were immediately released with the cry of "There's no going back." The focus is not on the synod, which is during Francis, was used to subvert doctrine. So there is that. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds on this thing. I'm just going to say that I think that Pope Leo's appointments, they do set the tone. It's very interesting that he met to talk to him. I have been accused of being a Pope Leo XIV defender. Whatever, it is what it is. I even defended him this weekend when he made the comment about the pandemic of gun violence, large and small. We have to do something about the pandemic of arms, large and small. And I got ripped over by non-Catholic gun guys. Not really ripped over, but a colleague, an acquaintance, Joe Dolio. I interviewed him a way back. Very smart guy, very good man. He's like, the Pope's telling me that he wants to end the pandemic of small arms while he's protected by the Vatican. I think and I am Pope-splaining right here. I'll say it. When he made that statement about the ending the pandemic of arms, large and small, I think he's talking about, well, of course, that was right after the sentence about what happened in Minnesota. I'm going to interpret it this way because there's, the problem is the ambiguity that we need to end the pandemic of weapons being used against innocents. Yes, and he didn't mention transgenderism. None of the bishops did, or His Holiness the Pope. But I told people I think the Pope is calling for, in his way, that we need to protect the innocent. Because there's no statement either way on that. Now, of course, the left will run with it as gun control because that's what they're always going to take the opinion and twist it, which is why I was hoping for a more clarified statement from a lawyer and a mathematician. Well, you could interpret, and you could rip me in the comments for this, you can interpret that Pope Leo sat Martin down and said, listen, Francis put you front and center. You're not front and center for me. I just want you to understand this. You're not front and center. You're not getting priority. Since you're here, just understand you're not getting priority from me. Now, we all want him to say, repent and stop doing this nonsense, but I don't think we're going to get that from Pope Leo. I agree with Anthony. I don't think we're getting, Pope Leo XIV was brought in as a uniter. So he's not going to rock the boat on a lot of things. He's not going to rock. I don't think we're going to get a lot of, I left her in Italy. Lou didn't come with me to Italy. My wife would have been pissed if that was the case. But the idea is, I don't think you're going to get a lot from Pope Leo. I maybe this may be fan fiction. You could easily tell me that it is. Let me know. Leo sat him down because Martin, I'm extracting with Martin. Martin said that it's not a priority, but he still wants me to do it, guys. That could easily be the Pope saying, listen, you're not getting the same priority that Francis gave you. I'm not going to stop you, but I'm not going to promote you the way he did. Which is still a loss because that lifestyle cannot be promoted or even seem to be given the appearance of being acknowledged. But once, we're starting to run into these choppy waters where Leo is trying to just navigate the waters and not make anybody mad because of the divisiveness of Pope Francis. And especially, he's not even halfway through. He's not even 6 months in. So he's going to try and navigate this whole ship as tenderly as possible in the opening of it. But that's my idea. I don't know. I don't think this is... Here's what I'm trying to say. I don't think this is the world-ending event some people think it is. I just don't think it is. I can be wrong. Things happen. But at the same time, I don't believe so. All we can do is wait. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you like what we are doing. Last story of the day. Let's see here. Last story. It's about guns because, I like talking about guns. Last story from Breitbart.com. Governor Tim Walz. America has more guns and the wrong types of guns. No, what we have is a pandemic of troons, whose lifestyles are being affirmed by all the drugs on planet Earth, and those people are allowed to have access to guns. Now, I've said I don't believe in red flag laws. I don't believe in gun-free zones. Most people don't like it. The only solution you have is to get your firearms and train with them and be prepared to defend yourself as long as this is taking place. Because there are no laws that will protect you. In fact, all the laws you're championing will be used against you. So this is what the genius Tim Walz had to say.
When they had a school shooting in Scotland or they had an incident in Australia, they simply made changes. They are just as free as we are. They still have gun ownership requirements, but they have made sure that they don't have these. And since they did those things, they don't have them. We are an outlier amongst nations in terms of what happens to our children, and I refuse to think that that's okay. It's simply not.
Well, nobody gives a crap what you think. So either way, I'm going to go back to the full screen on this one. That's Massachusetts. This is the gun scorecard from Giffords. Minnesota has a B. It's 15 out of 50. All right. They have $14 million in community violence intervention programs. They've banned straw purchasing. They have a domestic violence and firearm surrender task force. Requirement safe storage, passing gun industry accountability, improve lost and stolen firearm reporting, banning guns at polling places, and more stupid things that did not keep children safe. By the way, Texas, F, yo. Florida, C-, boo. Anyway, so this idea that we're going to do what? We're going to do Australia type gun buybacks? No, we're not. We're just not home.
When they had a school shooting in Scotland or they...
Be quiet. Nobody likes you. We're not doing that. We are not doing gun buybacks. That's just not happening. Because gun buybacks do not work. They don't. And every place that has strict gun control, you see these incidents happen. And so it's funny to see these guys try to use gun control as some kind of solution to this. So he said the thing that makes America unique in terms of shooting is we just have more guns. If you actually look at the amount of guns we have per supposed mass shooting data, we actually don't. Now, of course, I am just as heartbroken as everybody else of what happened at the Annunciation Church, Catholic Church, and the innocent lives that were lost and damaged and destroyed. But that's not a gun problem. That is a person who was affirmed in a lifestyle that only leads to destruction. So we have that problem. He went on to admit that he's going to need some Republicans to cross the aisle. If Minnesota lets this momentum, don't let a crisis go to waste. He did not mention the man who shot and killed 2 children and wounded many others was a transgender who changed his name from Robert to Robin and was age 17, which means he should not have been able to access any of the guns he used. He was 17. He was underage. He broke 3 laws. First one, he was underage. He shouldn't have had access to the firearms. Second, he was in a gun-free zone. Third, he murdered people. Those are 3 things that are against the law. Yet, those things still happened. Walz also admitted the trans shooter in the manifesto where he said, "Forget those kids and where's your God now?" The trans shooter made clear he chose a target based on a lack of security because he wanted unarmed victims. So all Governor Walz is doing is taking account or enacting the Rahm Emanuel strategy of never letting a crisis go to waste, making sure that, in his words, the moment, we can't let this moment pass, i.e., what they say, this opportunity to put more restrictions on you. It shouldn't be the case. So he has what he has to say, but it shouldn't be the case. The only solutions here, and I kind of end the show with it as I kind of started at the beginning, is that gun-free zones need to be removed. 18-year-olds should have access to buying handguns. They shouldn't be prohibited from doing it. At least in state levels, if you have a license to carry in your state, you should be able to carry that firearm anywhere. I'm talking courthouses, churches, whatever, because you have that license to carry. And I think stronger legal protections need to be put in place for citizens who defend themselves in active shooter situations. Yeah, you're right, G-Money. It's all about it. I would assume that he probably scoped out the target, James, right? He did a little recon. That's why he knew that the church was there and that there was a man, because he shot into the church. And children, being innocent, are always the targets of these demons. So I would say it's a safe bet that he did know that children were indeed inside the church when he started shooting. Gun-free zones need to go away. 18-year-olds need to be able to shoot or be able to carry handguns. Stronger legal protections and stand your ground and self-defense rulings for those. His mother did work there. His mother did work for Annunciation Catholic Church. I don't know if she worked for the school, but she worked for them. So yeah, he had an intimate knowledge. I would bet that I was about to say, G-Money, I haven't really looked too much into it because I was away last week, but I wouldn't be shocked. His mom did work there. I'm sure he might have gone there for a time, but I don't think he was going there at that point. But there are multiple ways we can fix this. But gun control is not the answer because it never works. It never works, and it always fails in that regard. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm starting to run out of steam here. So that's it for this episode of RickCast. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell to help the show grow. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Leave me a comment down below if you're watching in the replay. What'd you think? Would you agree? Would you disagree on? And you don't have to be kind. You can be as mean as you like. It's okay. It is your right as an American. All right, guys. I will talk to you all tomorrow on Thursday. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor. Wrong button.